nation's first ever World Cup finals goal.
You're listening to FNR, Football Nation Radio.
Victory looking to build. Barbarouses is quick. Is he in behind Topor Stanley? It doesn't matter! Costa Barbarouses! Wow!
Like a salmon, a spawning salmon.
And Diamanti again! Oh, he's done it!
Unbelievable kick. Come on here.
The Socceroos approach a major international match without a fit, recognised striker, and the A-League returns to gimmickry as a way of marketing itself. Plus ça change, plus ça reste. Here on the Oz Football Hour, I'm Josh Parrish. I've got Jason Goldsmith here with me. Jason, how are you? Did you enjoy the weekend's games?
There were some pretty good games, Josh. I'm good, thank you. Great to be here again. And I think we had a very fitting first versus second clash. Western United hosting Melbourne City, which ended in a draw. That was probably the top one for the weekend and probably one of the better games for the season.
Yeah, we've got heaps to talk about today. We've got potentially a visit of Barcelona, however ill-timed that might be, and however many players from the first team are actually available. We'll see. But the A-League wants to bring back the All-Stars, according to Don Bossi in the Sydney Morning Herald. We're also going to talk about potential Socceroos bolters ahead of the Japan game with no Matt Leckie, no Jamie McLaren, no Adam Taggart, plenty missing.
Riley McGree.
No Riley McGree either. Right. There's a laundry list of players who are going to miss out on that one, which makes our slim hopes of World Cup qualification look even slimmer. But I think let's start with that game, Western United 2, Melbourne City 2. Western United taking a 2-0 lead thanks to Leo Lacroix and René Créhin, who, after not being involved for most of the season, is suddenly front and centre in Western United's plans. But Melbourne City managed to respond through Connor Metcalf just before the halftime break, and then Jamie McLaren netting what proved to be the final goal, the equaliser, in the 65th minute. You were there, Jason. How did you see it?
I wasn't actually there. I did watch the game.
Apologies. Yeah. You were actually at the MacArthur one. There were
the one
earlier,
before that.
That's
Yeah,
right.
the one
but you were
that.
Watching closely anyway.
Well, different J-Mac story, but we'll get to that at a different stage. Fantastic. Decent crowd of supporters making a lot of noise, and credit must be given to Western United. So I believe all Melbourne City members got a free ticket to attend as the away because the Melbourne Derby was cancelled for their victory being in the Asians Champions League. So a crowd of 8,000 people, which doesn't sound like much, but when they're making noise and they're involved, it gave the game a tremendous atmosphere. Western United jumped them, but then Melbourne City came back and probably unlucky not to win. They had a couple of goal line clearances. I think Connor Metcalf hit the crossbar at one stage late in the game too. For the Socceroos, probably good thing. Tilio in some form, as is Connor Metcalf. Marco Tilio might need to provide some creative spark for us in the coming internationals. But yeah, a tremendous advertisement for first versus second in the A-League. It really was. Shame it wasn't the primetime game, but we spoke about that last week. So 5 o'clock, great game of football.
I don't think we're going to go on another rant about TV scheduling, are we, this week? I think let's park that for now.
We can just one really quick one.
Yeah, please.
The 5 o'clock games aren't very good in the first half when you've got half the pitch in shade and half the pitch in sunlight. But we know that throughout the competition, throughout the country. Anyway.
Yeah, not ideal for cameramen working in those. Camera operators, I should say, working in those conditions.
Or the viewer as well. But look, it made up for it in a cracking second half end-to-end stuff. It really was fitting of first versus second. And they're probably the standard in the comp at the moment, these two.
Is this the grand final preview? Because I flagged it on the Green Room last week that this might be our first look at these teams and how they might shape up in a potential finals matchup.
Yeah, I reckon it could possibly be. I think they've both got the measure of probably MacArthur or Adelaide United. Or Adelaide generally pinch wins at the death, or they have done so. So I don't guess, and Victory got a few games to catch up as well. It could possibly do that. But I think at the moment these two are the front runners. They're consistent and have been consistent all the way through the process. So I would think that it might be a grand final preview.
Well, Melbourne City went with the lineup you'd probably expect. But for Western United, Dylan Pereira starting on one wing, Adisu Bayu on the other, and Lockie Wales as sort of the pressing machine 10. They were interchanging a little bit, but I was very entertained by the prospect of former Melbourne City player, cast aside in Dylan Pereira going up against Scott Jamieson, a player he would have been competing with for first-team football back in the day.
They had a nice little, a couple of nice contests as well, which was always good to see because we know Scott's not short of a word when he's on the pitch. So, yeah, very good. Look, Western United really jumped them at the start. I really thought those two early goals, the second one was on the counter, and then City kind of had most of the possession after that, just couldn't put away that winner.
The shot count, 9-23 for City, 4 on target to 8, 61% of the ball for City, as you say.
Yep.
So in most of the basic metrics, they dominated this fixture. Is this the first sign of Western United starting to come unstuck and starting to leak goals when they're in winning positions, or was this a different calibre of opposition they were up against this week?
Different calibre, clearly the pace setters of the comp. But, I mean, they held on. They did okay because the J-Max equaliser was in the 65th minute, right? So they had plenty of time to do that. There was a couple of goal line clearances to get through, but they managed to hold on and protect and keep the point. So I don't think it's falling apart for them. I've probably uncharted territory for them to be 2-0 up instead of 1-0 up and holding on. So it's going to be fine. I mean, City on top of the ladder, but they've got 2 games on Western United. They're on the same points total of 33. So United have got opportunity. A couple of big games coming up for them. They've got Sydney and then they've got Melbourne Victory. So they've got a couple of big games which will sort them out, and we'll see if they really are a contender.
Well, we're going to troubleshoot a few technical issues here in the studio. If you're watching on the live stream, we'll have Vision back with you shortly. We're going to go to a quick break, and on the other side, we've got A-League All-Stars and Socceroos to discuss, so don't go anywhere.
Since 1998, Lanco Group has been providing superior civil engineering solutions and advice to developers, local government and service authorities across Australia. Lanco Group is known for delivering sustainable, efficient solutions. By working closely with clients, Lanco Group is able to meet the complex infrastructure requirements for residential, commercial and industrial developments on time, on budget. Find out more at lancogroup.com.au. Lanco Group, your business partner for engineering solutions.
Are you looking to change your destiny in life? Be your own boss? Start your own business? If you are, you need people who understand your needs and are committed to helping you make it happen. At DKP & Co Chartered Accountants, we are more than just accountants. We are business advisors, taxation consultants, and strategists that specialise in setting up businesses. We understand the client and give them the very best customised advice and strategies to achieve their goals. Visit our website, dkpco.com.au, or give us a call today on 03 9023 9370. Fast, proactive, personal. That's DKP & Co Chartered Accountants.
With this great sporting nation who has yet to embrace fully the world's greatest game, and for so long of trying to have the game accepted. And when I'm up to the big football field in the sky, I just want people just to remember I told you so.
And suddenly the complexion of the game changes. Let's hope it doesn't, but this is the best period for Iran in the match. Ali Dodi, danger for Australia here, the flag's down! It's an equaliser!
Just feel for them. Not just the boys, they are representative of so many people who make this game their life. It's just, I can't say anything.
All right.
Especially as they have the impetus. Aloisi. Cahill. Cahill! Tim Cahill has done it again! What a goal by Tim Cahill! 2-1 Australia! Oh, it's a wonderful moment in Kaiserslautern! And Tim Cahill has come off the bench and maybe won the match for the Socceroos.
You're listening to FNR, Football Nation Radio.
Is quick. Is he in behind Topo Stanley? It doesn't matter! Costa Barbarouses! Wow!
Like a salmon, a spawning salmon.
And they
sure we expected the A-League All-Stars to ever be resurrected. Thought they were consigned to the dustbin of history and a few cut-price jerseys at Rebel Sport. But back they come, according to Don Bossie in the Sydney Morning Herald. Several A-League sources saying that talks are advanced and five-time European champions Barcelona have agreed in principle to play the A-League All-Stars at the 83,000 capacity Accor Stadium in Sydney Olympic Park at the end of the European season. We've seen this back in the day. It was heavily marketed by Fox Sports, but the concept never really caught on. Jason, do you think it has any chance of becoming a tradition again?
I don't think so. Look, a couple of things. First of all,
I mean, it might well become a tradition, I should say. Do you think it has a chance of becoming a popular medium?
I think what we've found in Australia is the theatre goer will attend football games that have great names, great players and great jerseys. And we've seen that in the past, that this is probably a cash cow for the A-League, that they need to earn some money. Crowds have been down, the rest of it. That's what will happen. They will sell 70 to 80,000 tickets to this, and they will make some money on the gate. And that'll help their coffers a little bit, I'm sure. We've seen that before, but maybe they're trying to control it, because remember we had Real Madrid and Man City with over 95,000 people at the MCG, but the crowd were concentrating on paper planes rather than what was happening on the pitch. We've had over 40,000 people turn up to Sydney to watch Liverpool legends play. So like the theatre goers and the jerseys there. So Barcelona, you will see a lot of Barcelona tops and hats and whatever around. They're cashing in clearly.
Yeah, I don't have a problem necessarily with using this as a money spinner when individual A-League clubs are involved. But I think given that it's billed as an all-star game, and we know that football is not really a contest where you can put the best 11 players in the league on the park and just expect them to play well together in given like a week's lead-up preparation time.
Yep.
So when Barcelona's B or C team inevitably smash the A-League All-Stars for 4 or 5 goals, doesn't that end up devaluing the concept of the league and the standard of the league in the eyes of that theatre-going audience who might attend?
Yeah, I completely agree with that, because, I guess the A-League concept allows you to put your best internationals that play in the domestic comp together in the same side. But I agree, you look at it, when Liverpool played Melbourne Victory, you have that crowd to go Melbourne Victory. And then we've got Celtic Rangers or Wanderers and Sydney FC set up as well. So people are going to go to support their club. None of us are going to wear an A-League All-Star jersey and go wave flags and start chanting and cheering for those guys. So, yes, but who plays? Who do they get to play Barcelona? Do they get Sydney FC? Do they get the Wanderers? They do that sort of concept. I went to the Leeds Wanderers game when they opened the Parramatta Stadium a few years back as well. Great concept. All the supporters are out there. Again, most of them are theatre goers, but the Wanderers were there because it was, safe standing and the debut of the stadium. It was a bit of an event, so worthwhile. I'm not sure the All-Star concept has too many legs. I don't know if you can remember. What was the result last time they played?
Well, they got battered by Juventus, if I remember correctly. There might have been one after that, but I probably didn't watch.
Did Del Piero played for the All-Stars, or did he do half and half?
I know.
I can't remember. Yeah.
That doesn't ring a bell, to be honest, but I remember Besart Berisha looking very determined to score a goal and almost getting himself sent off.
Yeah, and from memory, they had a star on the jersey as well or something. It wasn't that flash to look at.
It was a pretty low-rent blue and yellow kit that... it looked cheap, and I think it cheapens the league. I know other leagues do it. MLS.
Maybe Besart has that framed and mounted at home on the wall. Maybe that was his highlight playing against Juventus. We don't know. Maybe he has. But yeah, I agree. Look, I have no problem as a money spinner for the theatre goers to go, but an all-star concept in the hope of getting rusted on fans that then become A-League fans, then they're probably better off with playing against a club.
I mean, in some ways, it's good fodder for people like us who like to natter about who the best players in the league are, because suddenly it gives your team of the season an extra weight if you're actually going to see these players play together. So it fills column inches, it fills podcasts with debating over who should get selected.
Yeah, it does. But and then you're going to get the players who do they really want to play against Barcelona? Like, is it worthwhile for them on their CV? If they're of their childhood Barca fans, that they may want to do so. But you get a bit of self-preservation too if you're between contracts, or you're going to have a breakout season, or you're on big money at your club, what's the benefit, you know?
Well, I mean, maybe it's a negotiating tactic for the agent saying, my player's an all-star, you've got to give him a raise next season.
Maybe. Let's see if we can play Champion Leagues football, or they finish top in the, you know, in the awards, the coaches' awards and stuff.
I would much rather see cohesive individual club sides with actual fans and not just a league-wide concept play against these big teams.
So would you go watch then? So Celtic are playing Sydney FC and then Rangers against the Wanderers.
Yeah, honestly, I would be more compelled to watch that than to watch this A-League All-Stars game because I just know that they're not going to play well together if they haven't played together before.
And the last one from memory, the concept was basically a Foxtel All-Stars team, and it was mainly for TV, right?
Yeah.
So Paramount aren't pushing this, or Channel 10 aren't pushing this, do you think? Is it going to be on Channel 10? That's the thing. If Channel 10 are pushing it, maybe that's the reason that they've come up with this concept.
Perhaps. The article doesn't go into any detail as to whose idea or whose brainchild it is.
Maybe Dom can update the article and also update his headshot now with his long hair as well.
Our first sighting of Dom Bossi in quite a while on Stan Sport FC the other day. It looks a lot different to those old headshot photos.
Yeah, I thought Evan on Twitter had actually made the long hair meme for him, but it wasn't the case. Anyway. There you go.
I do think you're in danger of further devaluing the league to supporters who haven't really engaged with it before. Because, I mean, if they play really well, they outplay Barcelona, maybe, you know, that's the risk you're taking. But if a, you know, quote unquote Euro snob goes to the game and thinks, you know, the A-League's crap, but I want to watch Barcelona, and then they see them put 5 or 6 inevitably past this haphazardly assembled team, which may or may not have teams from the very best A-League clubs, because it could clash with the final series, which is unfortunate timing. I think it also might take attention away from the finals. Does that then make that fan think, well, if the best 11 players in the A-League can't even hope to compete, what about, like, you know, the individual club teams must be even worse? Which is not the way football works, of course, but that's the way that it would appear to a casual observer. And that's why I don't like this concept, because I don't think it does our league justice.
No, it doesn't. And it's similar to... Well, right in my wheelhouse, is similar to the guest players or the marquee players that we get to the league, where you get the instant sugar hit of, you know, fans turning up, but they don't become rusted on fans so much. It's hard to actually measure and will these people coming to watch Barcelona go because it's Barcelona? They're not going to go because it's the A-League All-Stars. And is the concept then supposed to go, right, well, he was a good player, we might go watch him again. Who does he play for? Oh, we don't know, because he's playing for the All-Stars, you know? So... Again, probably the I know it's copping a little bit of grief, but the Celtic Rangers versus Australian clubs approach, Leeds versus Wanderers, you know, Victory versus
Liverpool at the MCG is the best example of this. They're
the examples whether they can work, right? So,
and then you actually have fans of the other team turning up. No one's going to buy an A-League All-Stars jersey and go on to cheer the A-League All-Stars with the big foam finger.
What about a half and half scarf, Josh? You can get half Barcelona and the half A-League All-Stars.
That's the kind of merchandise that will be worth something in 20 years when everyone's forgotten that it ever existed.
And it won't be official either. It'll be some English backpacker behind a car that'll jump up and try and sell it to you. So,
I look forward to that cropping up on the eBay of the future.
Excellent. I might have to look into getting one of those, but we'll have to make our way to Sydney, I guess, the end of the year.
Maybe we should try and track down one of those old A-League All-Stars tops for the studio here for the week.
Yeah, put it behind us.
We can deck this place out in blue and yellow, or whatever colour scheme they choose.
The Festival of Football, or whatever they're going to call it, we can jump on board.
I want to see an A-League All-Star Ultra group. You know, a firm. You know, so you got the old firm, you got the Celtic and Rangers fans who will no doubt be, you know, brawling in the streets in the lead up to this game if you read the Daily Telegraph. So I want to see the A-League All-Stars come together, come up with some chants, be a real, like, edgy, active supporter group.
Safe smoke. We need to do it properly. Yeah.
Oh, just flares, you know.
Okay. Yeah, we'll do it properly, the old school.
That's what I want to see. I think that would be great. But, you know, it's not going to happen because people don't get excited about these one-off gimmicks.
They don't, but we get crowds to them. So that we get crowds to them.
I long ago swore off ever paying money again.
For an exhibition?
For an exhibition game involving 2 non-Australian teams.
Which one did you go to?
What scarred me? I think... What have I been to in the past? I think there was a Roma game.
Yeah, MCG.
Yeah, that was terrible.
Roma, Atletico Madrid playing Tottenham, maybe the MCG. They tried that Champions League format. That might have been Roma, I think. Roma and Man City and
I've gone to some of the ones involving the actual Melbourne teams, Victory playing against Juventus a couple of times. Or LA Galaxy back in the day when Beckham came and nearly scored from the halfway line. That was good fun. And for some reason, it was a draw and they just decided to have a penalty shootout for no reason.
Didn't Juventus play in Geelong too?
Yeah, they did.
Victory?
They did. Atletico Madrid played in Geelong, I think. I think Juventus played in the MCG. I'm not sure if they...
So the concept can work, but they've been club sides have been touring this country since forever, right? Since the 50s and 60s.
We used to have national team games against them.
Absolutely. We would play the Minnows and then we would play Blackpool, Manchester United, etc., all the rest of it. So
the game that Simon Colosimo did his knee and was never the same player. That was against Manchester United.
That was here.
And
correct.
I think was it Andy Cole who went through him?
Yeah, it was. Yep.
Never forgiven in Australian football circles, Andy Cole. No, it shouldn't be welcome back in the country.
No, yeah. Well, correct. And if you read Dwight York's book as well, that's he enjoyed Australia in that tour, which probably led to him coming for Sydney FC afterwards. So, yeah, the concept works in terms of crowd numbers and publications. And like the funny thing is they said, even when it comes to the end of this season, there'll be a picture in Melbourne of Ange Postecoglou holding a Sharon, Australian football as well, even though he's from Melbourne. So it works in terms of the publicity from that side of things and the money in the gate. But what it does for our game is yet to be really worked out. What do we get from it?
I think what hasn't had much exposure here in terms of the coverage of the Celtic Rangers thing is it's actually getting a lot of blowback amongst Scottish football fans and media that they're staging one of these sort of sacred games outside of Scotland for the first time as a money spinner.
Yep.
And I think that can devalue their product as well by touring it around for dosh. I mean, you think of how the Brazilian national team has been turned into a Nike advertising vehicle and playing cash grab games in the Middle East all the time.
Yep.
I don't think players feel the same way about joining the Brazil shirt anymore. I think it has genuinely been devalued by that. And I think sometimes these cheap gimmicks can have a longer term cost.
It would be better if they're not playing each other. I agree with that completely because
bringing Celtic here makes absolute sense.
Yeah, of course it does. And then because people want to see it, there's a big Australian connection with it. Not just Ange, but we've had Viduka and McDonald and all these guys as well. That they want to actually watch these clubs, but if they're pre-season tours for these European clubs, they're not going to come straight out and play their best 11 and all the rest of it. They're going to develop kids. They'll have stars to play 20 minutes here and there. You're not going to see everything. You are just literally going a theatre going. You're paying to watch the jersey run around.
Well, enough about friendlies. We're going to go to a quick break and talk about the real stuff. International football. Japan face the Socceroos very soon. And there are dwindling options from which Graham Arnold can select attackers in particular. So we're going to talk about who might fill those gaps, who are the bolters. That's coming up after the break here on the Oz Football Hour.
Since 1998, Lanco Group has been providing superior civil engineering solutions and advice to developers, local government and service authorities across Australia. Lanco Group is known for delivering sustainable, efficient solutions. By working closely with clients, Lanco Group is able to meet the complex infrastructure requirements for residential, commercial and industrial developments on time, on budget. Find out more at lancogroup.com.au. Lanco Group, your business partner for engineering solutions.
Are you looking to change your destiny in life? Be your own boss? Start your own business? If you are, you need people who understand your needs and are committed to helping you make it happen. At DKP & Co Chartered Accountants, we are more than just accountants. We are business advisors, taxation consultants, and strategists that specialise in setting up businesses. We understand the client and give them the very best customised advice and strategies to achieve their goals. Visit our website, dkpco.com.au, or give us a call today on 03 9023 9370. Fast, proactive, personal. That's DKP & Co Chartered Accountants.
Messi. Oh, brilliant skill from Lionel Messi. surging forward with real menace here. Brilliant from Messi. Oh, what a goal that is! And the whole of this ground stands and applauds the 19-year-old. Have you seen a better goal than that anywhere? I very much doubt it.
You're listening to FNR, Football Nation Radio.
Victory looking to build. Barbarouses is quick. Is he in behind top or Stanley? It doesn't matter! Costa Barbarouses! Wow!
Like a salmon, a spawning salmon.
And Diamante again! Oh, he's done it!
Unbelievable kick. Come on here.
Well, if anyone has got married in the last couple of years, you know how difficult it is to nail down a date with COVID, with just the general backlog of weddings and so forth. It's pretty difficult to get one set in stone. And after postponing it twice due to his football commitments, Jamie McLaren had just decided, or maybe his partner has, no longer, I'm not playing for the Socceroos against Japan. I'm getting married.
No, Japan game is available.
Oh, it's Saudi Arabia.
The Saudi Arabia game.
My apologies. Saudi Arabia, again, may not even be relevant if the result against Japan is no good. But no Adam Taggart again for the Socceroos, still injured. It's not looking good in terms of our striking options. I mean, it's rarely looked good in the last few years, but particularly now going into this important game, we're going to have a lot of players miss out.
We are. It's J-Mac's in form too. Like he's 12 goals, doing quite well. I actually, on the Wednesday game last week when Melbourne City played Macarthur, I would quickly just tell this little story that I promised my kids a hot dog if he scored in the first half, and he duly scored, but it was a deflection, and I was arguing that it was a known goal. The ground announcer said it was a J-Mac goal, so I bought the hot dogs and then checked the results. The next day it was an own goal. But yeah, he's available. He's the only one in form that's available. Matthew Leckie was in great form and is injured. Riley McGree's also injured. So you've got some of these creative midfield types that are going to score. Taggart's injured. So we send out an SOS to Nikita Rukavica, who we spoke about last week. In form, scoring goals constantly. He doesn't meet the vaccination requirements to play for either in Australia or Saudi Arabia.
To be honest, I was just trying to think of a pun based on your story, and I think I've come up with the perfect one here. Got? It's a false snag operation.
Okay. Ooh, we can work with that one.
Yeah. Okay. Ruka, not available because he's only had one dose.
Yeah, and he's had COVID. He's had COVID before, so he missed some football with COVID, and so he's not an anti-vaxxer. Let's just put that on the table. Mm-hmm. He's not one of those people. He's had one shot, but he hasn't had two. Couldn't you have a shot now and then still make it in time or not?
I guess it takes a couple of weeks to be effective. It's weird.
Really? But you get your certificate straight away, don't you?
Yeah, that's true.
So if he's got to just show his green tick, he could be on the plane. He could still make it in 10 days' time. So, or clearly he's just angry saying you don't want to pick me when I'm in form. You only want to pick me because there's injuries. Who knows?
Maybe.
But he would be one that we would look at. We can't look at him.
Honestly, for Ruka at the moment, I mean, I can't imagine what the emotions are like now because he's obviously got that family connection to Ukraine. So, I mean, may not even be in the best headspace to compete anyway.
Ukraine-born. That's very good point there, Josh. He actually played for his boyhood club in Perth is Inglewood United, which were Inglewood Kiev. They're actually
they play in yellow, of course.
Yeah. So in terms of who's in form and scoring goals, and you know, Craig Goodwin is probably he's our guy that's in form. He is.
True.
He the two goals
that
that
put him up top though.
Who else are we going to put up there? Who are we going to put up there?
I don't know. Robbie Cruz.
Blast from the past. So I did mention to you off air that when the Ollie Roos needed a goal against Egypt, we threw Harry Souttar forward and Jay Rich Bagley. So maybe we put Trent Sainsbury up the top, kick some long balls towards him.
Who's our biggest, burliest centre-back that we have available? I mean, obviously Souttar's got the ACL injury.
It's a good question. We might have to.
Who's the tallest player
of the A-League to find someone to turn into a striker quick smart?
Maybe we could call up George Timotheo or something. He's pretty big.
Nikolai Topper-Stanley.
Or Tommy Murchella. Tommy Murchella. He's got the height.
Topper Stanley's got that bull celebration when he scored that cracker as well, so that might be worthwhile getting on the back page. It's no, in all seriousness, we're in trouble in terms of who we're going to put up front. Like Mobile's fit and back, so he'll be on one side. Goodwin will be on the other. Who we look at? Do we look to a starting cap to Denny Urich? Do we look at Nick D'Agostino?
Honestly, I'm thinking about it now, and it sounds crazy, but Craig Goodwin up top, he's a great finisher. If he gets the chance, his left foot is the best in the league. So
his 2 assists on Sunday's game for the Reds against the Jets were top class. Both of them set it up. So he sets them up as well as scores them himself. Whereas where we talked about Taggart and J-Mac, they're gonna score more goals than they are set up. Goodwin can do a bit of both.
The problem I've always had with Goodwin is he's a winger who doesn't dribble. He's good off the ball. He's great when he gets it in a crossing position because his delivery is so good. I've always wondered whether he'd give it another crack at left back as a really attacking left back because he used to play there back in the day. But he doesn't really penetrate the defence with his dribbling. He's not a player who takes people on very often. And I think in Graham Arnold's system where the collective isn't necessarily generating a great deal, sometimes you do need a little bit of individualism, which maybe someone like Marco Tilio provides more of.
I think Marco is going to get a lot of minutes against Japan because he's that creative spark. We've seen that where he can do that. We've seen that in the A-League briefly with the Ollie Roos with his goal against Argentina and that kind of thing off the bench. He's the impact stuff, but impact's fine. We're going to need someone at the start. So do we throw a cap to recently naturalised Bruno Fornaroli?
Is he eligible?
He's Australian now. He hasn't played for Uruguay in the senior team.
Because I remember there were some things about junior. This was back with the Adama Traore thing. He played junior football for Ivory Coast, and the rules were that if you didn't have dual citizenship at the time, that was binding. I don't know whether that's still the case or whether it's retrospective or.
Did Bruno played underage football for Uruguay?
I don't think he might have.
Didn't they? Speaking of getting,
I wasn't prepared for this. I wasn't assuming you were going to bring him up.
I'm going to throw left field. We talked about Ange Postecoglou with a Sharon in the photo. I am positive. Didn't they show a picture of Bruno Fornaroli in a Socceroos shirt in one of the Melbourne papers when he was at Melbourne City? I'm pretty sure they did that as well. Another one of those
100%.
Wonderful gimmies. Fred did it as well back in the start of the A-League, if you recall. They had Fred in an Australian shirt. Anyway, I should be working in marketing for anyway.
He played under 17s for Uruguay and scored in a South American championship against Venezuela. So I don't know where that lands him on the eligibility, but I would be 100% in favour of that. I love Bruno Fornaroli. He's a great hold-up player. We don't really have a striker like him when we've got a full complement. I mean, maybe Taggart's the closest, but
actually, you know what? You know what I've been thought of because he's a bit of out of mind, out of sight. Martin Boyle will probably play up front.
That is a good shout
because
I mean, you say that, but it's 100% going to be Mitch Duke starting.
It will be Mitch Duke because he's our striker that's going to work. I would like Bruno Fornaroli to sing the national anthem like they made Martin Boyle and Harry Souttar do as well for us. But different, yeah.
Australians all let us vamos.
You'd get the ending right, I'm sure, if they won. You know what? Mitch Duke will probably start and then long balls to his head kind of deal. And then when that doesn't work, they'll look off the bench for a bit of a spark, which will be Tilio, Mobile if he doesn't start, Martin Boyle.
It could end up being Boyle with potentially Goodwin and Mobile on the flanks.
Yeah, well, given how Arnie has picked the team in this campaign and given the form and what we've got, Mobile and Goodwin have to start. He's in the middle. Is probably Mitch Duke. You're right.
There's one guy we haven't mentioned as a potential maybe impact bench player.
Your man Nick?
Yes. I haven't been a believer. I'll admit that now. I have been a Nick D'Agostino skeptic for many years, and he continues to score goals in the A-League and prove me wrong. I would say 90% of his goals come off glaring opposition mistakes.
Yes.
Such as the goal against Central Coast where our mate Dan Hall slipped over and it didn't look too pretty for him.
Did in that game. So the Mariners bought the sauce and D'Agostino bought the spice. Is that right? Is that what he did?
Yeah.
Sorry. Straight gag. He's been in the setup before. Arnie's had him with the Ollie Roos, right? He got them to the Olympics. He knows what he's getting with him. I would not be surprised if it happened. I don't think he's ready for it. We both don't think he's ready for it. But what other options are we looking at here?
I mean, Daggers, if you do pick him, will run and press with enormous intensity and will throw himself into challenges and will throw himself at every ball. But isn't that what you're sort of already getting with Mitch Duke?
And J-Mac. It's what we normally get at the front. So there's not much. There's a lot of
great effort and not a lot of combination play.
No, there's not.
And that's where it all falls down for me with D'Agostino's national team case, is that whatever his goal scoring form, however much he might deserve it based on the numbers alone, I just don't think in terms of attributes he gives us anything different to what we've already got. And given Arnold's track record for preferring experience, even if he does have a good relationship with Daggers from the Ollie Roos days, and he did come up with big for the goal that qualified for them for the Olympics, for example, I just don't think he's going to be trusted to play significant minutes in the two biggest games of Arnold's career.
So he goes with Duke because that's what he's done before. When Duke inevitably gets subbed off 60, 70 minutes.
It'll probably be for J-Mac in the Japan game, and obviously Saudi, we might see someone like Daggers or
we might have to. Well,
shifting Boyle up front.
We'll see how D'Agostino goes tonight, I guess, in Japan.
We were trying to cast the net far and wide pre-show, trying to come up with a few names. Denny Juric is one that you floated. Is he playing? He's played 10, 11 games for Dinamo, not full 90 minutes. He's been subbed off 5 times and come off the bench 5 times out of those 11 appearances, but that is a high level. I don't know how it translates or whether he's really in the frame, because Australia haven't shown much interest in calling him up in the past.
I think he's only in the frame because we've got this fixation with dual nationality opportunities that we talk about it on this show every week. And then there's talk about Denny playing for Croatia and then playing for Australia because he could play for either.
It's quite literal FOMO, isn't it?
It is because I think we've been burnt a few times that we want to talk about it all the time. And so Denny is someone that's playing in a good standard. He's playing in Europe, which is what we want. He's not getting the minutes to warrant a call up, and he's not scoring the goals to warrant a call up, but we will talk about him because, he could play for Croatia, that kind of thing. Well, the other one, Liam Chipperfield scored a goal just on the weekend, so he's eligible.
Yeah, well, that was his first goal ever for FC Basel, but judging on what we've heard from him or about him, he's born and raised in Switzerland.
He's Swiss.
I don't think he has really any interest in playing for Australia.
His dad's a Swiss legend, a Swiss club legend, despite being Australian, right? So I don't think it'll happen unless it gets to the stage where he can't play for Switzerland, and there might be opportunity from our point of view. I would think D'Agostino would be in the next round for the next World Cup. He would have to be in the frame when we start to rejuvenate and look at and in terms of who's in form in the A-League, Angus Thurgate's probably someone that should possibly be in the squad.
Sure. Yes, that's a good shout. I think there are a few midfielders in the queue ahead of him, such as Jean Rowe.
Yeah. Danny should be in the squad. We've talked about that. Just with Thurgate, though, he scored 5 goals. I watched him closely on Sunday, and then I had to, with all due respect to Angus, I had to look up how old he is. He's only 22. So there'll be opportunity there, but he's in some form if they pick the squad. Do you know when the squad's coming out? I've been keeping an eye out.
Should be later this week. So as far as I'm aware.
So we're about 10 days out from the first game, so it would have to be close for everyone to...
they often come out on a Thursday, so I'm expecting it Thursday, but that's not based on any particular inside info.
Any other bolters, Josh, you can think of?
Well, I mean, speaking of dual nationality players, miss Lyndon Dykes a touch. When you think about what he's doing in Europe, he's probably another sort of upgrade on a Mitch Duke type target man.
He is. He's the big target guy. Hold up the ball, dish it off, and maybe burgle a goal every sort of 3 or 4 games.
Yeah, it does make you slightly wonder what he could have done for the Socceroos as a kind of straight up wrecking ball.
Yeah, and I wrote a piece on him a while back. Effectively what had happened, he hadn't been capped for Australia or Scotland, and there were qualifiers like 2 days apart from each other, and this was the start of 2020. So then when the pandemic hit, all of the Australian qualifiers were pushed way back, but the Euros were coming up, so the European ones still came through. So, if you're got national team aspirations, and the first one that comes knocking generally gets the answer. But he would be ideal at the moment. He'd be perfect up front.
He always said whenever he was asked about it that he would just play for the first national team that called him up, and he was true to his word.
Yep.
So, can't really complain on that front. He was pretty honest about he just wanted to play international football and he didn't mind which country. We're about to lose another one. I don't know if you're aware of Ramat Akbari's call up to the Afghanistan national team.
Okay,
He'll play a friendly. So, I think he is actually a loss.
Yep.
Maybe he flies under the radar a little bit playing for a pretty poor Brisbane Roar team this season, but I do think we're missing out on a player there that has a little bit of technical quality that not a lot of A-League midfielders have at their disposal. And I think he can be used more effectively at club level as well. So I think we probably should have been a bit quicker on Akbari, and he should have been involved in more Australian youth national teams. But,
I think this is going to happen more and more. I think because the next World Cup is 48 teams, that the actual opportunities to qualify are there. Like you normally would say Afghanistan, no chance, but there's 8 spots for Asian countries to go into the 2026 World Cup. So you actually are a chance no matter who you actually represent now. So every continent's getting extra nations through. So it's going to happen.
Well, you spoke about bolters. I don't know if they necessarily bolters so much as players that I'd really like to see. And
these are all Josh's favourites coming up.
Yeah, here we go. I mean, I've already talked about Akbari, so the bias is clear. But I do think Max Burgess has played really well when he's been given the opportunity this season. He's a really intelligent, creative player who loves to receive the ball in between the lines. We don't have too many of those.
No, we do not. Yep.
I would love to see him involved. Clearly, and I don't think they're even bolts at this point. They should be just nailed on. You don't need a bolt, you need a nail. And that's for Danny Jonro, who I mentioned earlier, and Cammy Devlin, just based on how consistent he's been since he moved to Hearts. Now, quickly, he's cemented a first team.
Devlin doesn't have a cap, though, does he? He hasn't played for us yet.
No.
So, again...
Hasn't been called up.
No.
Which is astonishing, really.
It is astonishing, unless the last round when Atkinson missed the call up when he moved to Hearts as well, that they should be in the squad at least at some stage. But yes, I agree with you on both those.
I mean, Jonro and Devlin, if they'd been blooded early, might even be my starting preferred midfield pair, let alone squad members. Because I think we've been lacking in that department specifically. I think we're a bit focused on the striker shortfall, and even if we do have good forwards in the team, we wouldn't necessarily generate the chances to serve them.
Well, Connor Metcalf's been in really good form too.
True.
So that helps, and him moving to Germany is going to help as well. But yeah, it's getting thinner and thinner, isn't it? If you chuck a few injuries up the front, and you just kind of go, what do we do from here?
Yeah, it's getting pretty thin. But Liam Chipperfield, I think, was always a pipe dream. Maybe it would have been nice to have him in the side because his dad can double as the bus driver. But
yes, the famous Wollongong champion that he is. Yeah, it's interesting. So Liam Chipperfield now scoring, so he'll get all the headlines instead of Volpato now.
We'll shift our focus to the next dual national that we're about to miss out on.
Who the next one is. There'll be, I'm sure, the golden generation and those that are still sort of based throughout Europe or have partners from other countries. There'll be some others come through. I know Lucas Neal's got kids in academies and that kind of stuff. So we'll watch this space. We'll be talking about it for a long time.
Yes. Well, we're going to go to a quick break because we've been talking for a long time. And on the other side, we've got more A-League games to break down. So stick around.
Maloney takes. It's in! It's Ben Watson! It's Ben Watson for Wigan Athletic! They've surely won the FA Cup! For Dave Whelan, for Roberto Martinez! You just cannot write scripts like this!
Are you looking to change your destiny in life? Be your own boss? Start your own business? If you are, you need people who understand your needs and are committed to helping you make it happen. At DKP & Co Chartered Accountants, we are more than just accountants. We are business advisors, taxation consultants, and strategists that specialise in setting up businesses. We understand the client and give them the very best customised advice and strategies to achieve their goals. Visit our website dkpco.com.au or give us a call today on 03 9023 9370. fast, proactive, personal. That's DKP & Co Chartered Accountants.
Since 1998, Lanco Group has been providing superior civil engineering solutions and advice to developers, local government and service authorities across Australia. Lanco Group is known for delivering sustainable, efficient solutions. By working closely with clients, Lanco Group is able to meet the complex infrastructure requirements for residential, commercial and industrial developments on time, on budget. Find out more at lancogroup.com.au. Lanco Group, your business partner for engineering solutions.
Victory looking to build. Barbarouses is quick. Is he in behind top or Stanley? It doesn't matter! Costa Barbarouses! Wow!
Like a salmon, a spawning salmon.
And Diamanti again! Oh, he's done it!
Unbelievable kick. Come on here.
More A-League games to hit before we go. Make sure you stick around for Radio Dub on the other side. We haven't ignored the A-League women, of course. We just have a dedicated show for it. So if you're not a listener to Radio Dub, that's at 7 p.m. every Tuesday. Coming up straight after this, myself and Pakua Frimpong. We've got both sides of the upcoming Melbourne derby represented. Alex Chidiac is going to be in the studio. We're also going to be talking to Caitlin Torpy of Melbourne City. So that's going to be great fun. Make sure you stick around for that. A couple of blockbuster games last weekend and one big one coming up on the weekend. So let's talk about Perth Glory 0, Sydney FC 2. Costa Barbarouses and Patrick Yazbek scoring the goals for Sydney FC. I don't think it was a surprise result, but I do want to talk about just how poor Perth Glory were in this game, given that we were forgiving them for most of the season for their failings because of the horrible schedule and all of the away games that they had to play. They weren't allowed to go home. It's been covered in depth. But since they've been back to HBF Park, the performances have not improved whatsoever.
No.
And now I do think some spotlight should be shone on both the recruitment and the coaching of that team, Sturridge or no Sturridge.
Yeah, Garcia's under the pump for sure. I mean, we've given him a lot of leeway leading up to it because of what's happened. They lost Aaron Calver today as well. He's signed with a Korean club, I believe. So, so they haven't had a really good run at it, but I don't think they have the right tactics, formation, etc. to come through. They play the Mariners tonight, so they get another sort of home game gets rushed through for them as well. And how are they going to have to bounce back from a loss to do so? So, yeah, they're struggle town, Perth Glory.
Yes, you're right. I missed that one. Aaron Calver signing with a club in the K-League, with the Glory getting a transfer fee for that at least. But I think that's another member of the Sasha Ognanovsky tax, with Korean clubs trying to replicate the big burly Australian
Asian
central
player
defender.
of the year. You're using your Preston bias there. That's good, Josh.
Actually, I did suggest to Sash once that he should get a commission for every big burly strapping Aussie centre back he signs in Korea, and he said, "Well, that'd be nice because the wages now are way bigger than when I was
what
there."
he had before." Yeah, and transfer fees. There we go. That's what we want, right? So we're getting some transfer fees now, which is good. So.
Yeah, so that stretches them pretty thin at the back. They played Josh Rawlins there on the weekend. He's not at all a central defender. Maybe he will grow into that, but that's certainly not the position that he's taken up in his A-League career to date. And now Brandon O'Neill out for the rest of the season, so it's getting pretty rough for Perth.
And he was the feel-good story too. You know, the new skipper returning home, having a baby, all that kind of stuff. The family club, they're all travelling around together. I guess Brad Jones coming back and playing on the weekend is a possible good news story for them. Again, another Perth boy done good. So hopefully he can string some games together, but he's not going to be the future for the Glory either at his age. You know, so it's tough. And then you've got, Bruno Fornaroli trying to carry it all himself, Andy Keogh, and that they don't look like getting much from anywhere else.
Yeah, I mean, Andy Keogh did score that hat-trick on his birthday last season, but I think those were the only goals he scored all year.
When's his birthday? Have they got a game on? You got a fixture?
I called that doing a Peter Siddle at the time. But this side...
I share a birthday with Peter Siddle, actually.
There you go.
So there you go. He scored a hat-trick on my birthday.
Oh, that was a nice birthday present for you.
Thank you.
But this team still playing 4-2-4, still pretty disconnected between midfield and attack, still leaving bright young players like Daniel Steins and Giordano Colli, who I think have shown a lot in limited minutes on the bench. I just don't think that Terry McFlynn, who is in charge of the recruitment over there, and of course Richard Garcia, have done anything to justify keeping their jobs next season. Because we said it from the outset now in our previews here that clearly the squad is completely unbalanced, and I also don't think Richard Garcia has made more out of this squad than the disassembled parts. So it's been a double whammy, and for all the money that Tony Sage has wasted this year on the team staying in the East Coast for most of it, and the failed Daniel Sturridge move, I don't think it was ever going to work.
It's not. I mean, it's not, and they're not going to get fans back too the way they're playing. I mean, they're till mid-April. The only away game they've got is against Wellington Phoenix, which will probably be in Perth, given the state Wellington's in at the moment. So it's hard for them that they won't get Sturridge on the park, so they're not going to get the theatre goers that we talked about through the gates either. So they're in a lot of trouble, and I don't think McFlynn or Garcia will lose their jobs before the season ends. But geez, it's going to be an interesting meeting when they assess this season, isn't it? They can probably justify COVID this and COVID that and lockdowns and East Coast stuff, but proof's in the pudding now. You got 5 or 6 games in Perth to get it right. At least do something, show something.
Yeah, it's sad because this should have been a glorious feel-good story homecoming, and they can't put the performances on the park to get the crowds back, like we saw in round 1 with Sturridge, of course, playing a few minutes. But one more game to hit before we have to go. Adelaide United 2, Newcastle Jets 1 is the game I'm going to plumb for, because yet again, Adelaide managed to pinch 3 points in the final moments.
Mo Toure, maybe he gets a call up too. We got to look in for Mo. So
good week for the Toure brothers. Al Hassan getting an assist with his shoe off, and Mo getting a goal.
MacArthur. It was. Both of those goals were mentioned that Craig Goodwin provided the assist. George Blackwood scored the first one and then celebrated with the Shane Warne tribute with a leg spinner with this,
which is great. But with that height, Blackwood's got to be bowling at least medium pace.
It didn't turn much. You're right. It didn't turn much.
More cricket references in this last segment than I was expecting.
Well, so Adelaide 12 goals. In the last 15 minutes they've scored for the season. They've scored 27 for the season, and 12 of those in the last 15 minutes. They have pinched points non-stop, and I think it's Carl Viet just using his bench with the sparks he's finding off it. They've generally been the young kids of Adelaide United that have come off, provided that spark, and just backed themselves and score goals.
I couldn't believe it when I looked at the table the other week and I saw they were third. It just doesn't feel. They don't feel like third place quality, but they keep winning.
They keep
somehow.
Winning. Yeah, like they've only lost 4 times. 7 wins, 6 draws, right? And then they've pinched those points back. They've done very, very well. They'll be thereabouts come finals time. They get a home final. Their support there at Cooper Stadium. They're a shout.
Yeah, it's bewildered me, but they're somehow making it work. And, as you said, they've got some good young talents coming through that do provide the sort of spark you need in the final 15 minutes. So
absolutely.
That's the time to tune into an Adelaide United game. You can skip the first 75. Yeah. Final 15 is box office.
Don't think Paramount can let you skip through to the last 10 minutes. We'll work on that for next season.
All right, we're going to go here on the Oz Football Hour. Stick around for Radio Dub. We've got Alex Chidiac in studio and Caitlin Torpy joining us as well for a big Melbourne Derby preliminary final preview.
Victory looking to build. Barbarouses is quick. Is he in behind top or Stanley? It doesn't matter! Costa Barbarouses! Wow!
Like a salmon, a spawning salmon.
And Diamanti again! Oh, he's done it!
Unbelievable kick. Come on here.